two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less taken and has made all the change and all the difference in my life, Robert Frost. So first of all, thank you for being here. Thank you that we get to share about ideas and just spark deeper conversations. So when I was first originally talking about this or preparing for this talk, I was going to talk mainly about my high school days when, my parents were pulling me in one direction to get good grades, straight A's, just stay, in school. And my head, I was in a rushed moment where I didn't want to follow that because we were in a rushed timeline. I felt like I didn't have time to wait for the traditional route that, led to the American dream. And this was all because, my parents were immigrants from South Korea, and so we were living in poverty. But despite this poverty, I asked if I could get a full-time job or anything, and they wouldn't allow it. They'd rather see me that I invest my time and hours into education, because in the long run, they thought that that would pay off. They thought that would lead to scholarships, and I would go to school for free, and that would just put a less burden on them. But I was determined to make my own path, and so at a young age of 15, I chose to choose a path less taken. And so I started on a primitive platform at the time called Instagram. It had less than 1 million users. I brought a meme onto the platform called Bad Luck Brian. At the time, I didn't know what to do with it, but I was motivated, I was consistent, and I stayed at it. So I reached 3 big feats before the age of 18. And so my first one, I had 6.5 million followers across Instagram over 3 channels. My second one, I made over $1 million in profit off of Instagram before the age of 18. And the third one, I bought a house for my parents in Olney, Maryland, and I became like the main household provider since 18 or 16. But in that story, the road less taken, it did make all the difference. But this isn't really like a fairy tale story. Yeah, so not really having a direction about what to do post high school and not really knowing what to do with the influx of money and just, trying to keep my parents happy, I decided to take the traditional route to go to University of Maryland, honors college, business school. But off the bat, it felt off. It felt like I was taking the road more traveled again, not less. And in addition to that, writing a $20,000 check, where you feel like you're not really getting that growth and knowledge in your industry and just didn't make sense to me. And so the first opportunity I got after my freshman year when a media company in Nashville decided to buy out my Instagram pages, I took it. I took it because, the Bill Gates, the Zuckerbergs, all those people of my time, they were taking this road like way less traveled. And I thought that taking the road less traveled would just end up in the same way that happened before, joining college. But boy, was I wrong. And so after I dropped out of college and sold my businesses, was taking this road less taken, I didn't make another $1 million. I didn't buy another house. I actually almost lost everything. And so it was all because, I started getting comfortable. I started losing sense of who I was. Instead of making money for my parents and our situation, I was making money so, I could relax, to have fun, to chill. And I lost sense of who I was. At one point, I was actually 250 pounds, just, traveling the world, just gorging out on the best foods. And despite all this, I have no regrets for, taking the road less taken, because at the end of the day, it brought me here. And since then, I was able to rebound, lose some weight, and then I started an Offsuit Media, a social media marketing company. We use technology and data to help brands and influencers just connect with each other. And so now that you know a little bit about me and my history, I really want to, I'm a very value person. I want to give out value out there. So I want to share 5 advice that I learned while building a 7-figure business before 18, and also all the advice from failures that I learned while, trying to catch that lightning in the bottle, trying to chase that high again, trying to chase, that big thing once again. So when I first started on Instagram, my first year, I only made $15,000. But by my 4th year, I was making over $400,000. And it was because I really dedicate all this scaling to leverage. And so once I knew that I had an audience on Instagram, the first thing I did was I developed and launched my own 3 apps onto the Apple Store, and using my pages, I promoted it organically, and it got over $150,000 and trended in the Apple Store in January 2015. And then on top of that, I leveraged it to make 3 other channels on Instagram, which grew to 6.5 million followers and allowed me to just increase my advertising prices with my advertisers. Next, I really think being early, being consistent, and being creative really led to that growth as well. So I was early onto the platform, like I said. When I joined the platform, there was 1 million users. Right now, there's over 1 billion active monthly users right now. And at the time, I had the 203rd largest pages on Instagram at the time. And because you're early on the platform, you also, there's a lot of loopholes that Instagram didn't have back then that you could, mass unfollow, follow. You could hit the explore page. There's a lot of little loopholes that you could take advantage of by being early. Next, I think consistency is really key. Like I was posting every day. I was posting multiple times a day because my money came from when my audience interacted with the advertisers. And to keep them happy, I had to post a lot of content. I had to engage with everybody that I could. I was really creative and smart with how I grew my pages. So my first page a page I created was soccer. It was 2016 World Cup. So I used the best videos, always posted. So I grew that to 2 million followers. And then I had a luxury page as well. And so that page I grew because I knew that the audience there, the demographics, because they're richer and they can afford more things, I knew that advertisers one day would want that. And so I created that. And lastly, when Vine was a big thing and Instagram just launched their video feature, I was the first one to bring all the best content from Vine over onto Instagram and called it Vine of the Day. And that grew to like 4 million followers. And then, I think resources, everybody has a lot of connections, and we don't have to be so transactional and trade money for money. I give a lot of my value. I share data so I can get other things from other people. And there's this whole barter system that people are missing out on. So my social media marketing company that does 4 to 5 figures profit per month, we only have a full-time employee of 1, and that's me. And it's not I don't have a team or they're not happy, I do. But it's because I'm just really smart with how I develop my team. So I'll give some advice. First, there's a lot of online services out there like Fiverr and Upwork, which will help you get freelancers from third world countries for really cheap. And they're on time, they're polite, and they really help with the margins of your company as well, and you don't have to give up equity. College wasn't just a waste. I met some friends and I met some graphic designers, girls with aesthetic eyes who had extra hours while they're in college to help me with website development, content curation, and different things that I needed in my business. And because they were local, it was really easy to work with them, and they were low cost because they were college students. And then lastly on their team, you will need people that you give equity to. So I have a co-founder who's a CTO, and he's a killer software developer. So those people, you have to give them equity and skin in the game so they're motivated and they're bringing a lot to the table. It's just working smarter, not harder. I think a lot of people try to work really hard, but I think in this day and age, you can work really smart. So me and my company, we focus completely every day just on automating parts of our business. We try to just automate things from Google Sheets or Excel sheets so that we don't need humans and doing tedious tasks on them. Because we save that time, I can focus more on my clients, I can focus on sales, business pitch, I can focus on so many more aspects of my business. And then lastly, is just don't forget where you come from. I feel like I forgot where I came from, because that's who you are. You are your story. Your past does not define you, but it is a part of who you are. And don't forget about yourself, because don't forget about the past, because it also should be a reminder of where you don't want to go back to. I don't want to be an immigrant family of 5, my mom not having a job because she can't speak English, my dad being a pastor, we're waiting on tax returns to make ends meet, Goodwill, thrift shops, all that to just make it work. You don't want to go back to that. So use that as a motivation. When you were there, there was people who were loving you and supporting you back then, your family and stuff that you can't forget about, and you need to bring them on your journey. So despite everything going well for me right now, I'm traveling this road less traveled, but I'm turning around right now, and I'm coming back into my family like a prodigal son, and I want to take them with me on my journey. So thank you. Amen.